15th, 5:30 PM. And with that, Bill, do we have a motion?
We do. Yeah, Mr. Chair, I move to take item number 2, which is approval of minutes, and move it down the agenda so that it comes after the last of the departmental updates.
Okay, so moved. All in favor?
Aye.
So moving on, now the meeting is open to the public, and is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none, are there any members of the public online? I don't think so. I hear no. And so moving on, we'll move to the departmental updates. Moving to fire.
Okay, for fire, you have the report for the month of June. Just a quick couple of notes that we have. We did a great outreach program in June. We had our open house, which brought us in 2 new applications, and we have 2 also in processing, which will increase our volume by hopefully about 4 new members. We continue to see an increase in our call volume of approximately 15 to 20% above last year's point in this calendar year so far, which has been pretty busy. Last month, we actually had 13 storm-related incidents as well, so that's boosting the numbers. No other category really shows a significant increase, but we're finding the increase basically is across the board, whether it be 911 calls, fire alarms, and everything else. Our drone program, we are experiencing a supply chain issue with our oldest platform, the Mavic. The batteries for the program or for the drones are starting to fail, but those are a 5-year-old. It's a 5-year-old drone, and it's pretty much at end of life. As a matter of fact, one of our units has actually already got a damaged thermal camera. We're currently working with the police department to work on alternatives for that and hopefully improve our capabilities. And that pretty much covers the fire department side.
Any questions, Counselor?
No, I don't. Thank you for the report.
Great. So on the incident side, is that putting any pressure in terms of personnel, increased incidents?
Obviously, the more incidents we have, the higher pressure it does put on the personnel. We are covering the calls. We're averaging anywhere from 6 to 8 members on daytime calls Monday through Friday, and we're still averaging anywhere from 15 to 20 members evenings and weekends. So we're still covering the calls just fine, but it's just going to be when it comes to the time for that budget and you see our pay-per-call numbers, we're going to have to obviously appropriate money for that in the future, because as those call volumes go up and the more members respond, those dollar numbers are going to go up as well.
Another question I had was about the highway funds. It's not coming in yet, right?
So the highway funds just started up July 1st. As a matter of fact, the chief actually has a note in here. Make sure you tell them we were the first department to submit a highway report for July of 2024. Yay us. We've actually had 3 incidents up there so far. The money is being allocated, but it's probably not going to be paid for. I believe Mona says it takes anywhere from 30 to 60 days to actually receive the money for those calls.
So it has been allocated?
Yeah, so it's been allocated. It just hasn't been paid yet.
Gotcha.
But we are back into getting paid for the I-91 calls.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks for that report. From there, moving on to emergency management.
I also have Chief Garrahy's report for emergency management. We did have a statewide epi drill last month with the governor's direction. The police department, it was basically a incident involving election issues. So we had anything from bomb threats to fires to hazmat problems to hazard or people basically causing issues, protesters, that sort of thing. So it involved many departments within the town, including the town clerk, the register of voters, the police department. We had, I want to say, 22 people in the emergency operations center for the drill. Went very well. We basically found a lot of things that we need to work on for the upcoming election. Cybersecurity was another thing that we talked about in it, and this will also serve as the CLIA drill for the PD certification process. As you know, we are probably in our 3rd heat wave effective immediately. So the only other thing he said wanted me to include is that the cooling centers are open. It is the library and the community center during normal business hours. And unfortunately, talking with Craig Bowman from Parks and Rec earlier today, it looks like we're probably going to wind up canceling the events for tomorrow, the farmers market, as well as the concert, due to the heat index being over 100 for the time frame for those.
Yeah, they were canceled.
They were canceled?
Yeah.
And that's it for emergency management.
Pardon me?
Are those rolling over to Wednesday?
No, this canceled completely. Because Wednesday, they believe we will be looking at maybe a thunderstorm late afternoon, evening.
So that's both the concert and the
Market.
market?
Yeah.
Thank you, yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, I do. So you did touch on cybersecurity and, you know, specifically to the drill concerning Election Day, but just more broadly, what resources do we as a town tap into on the issue of cybersecurity? It's so specialized and so, you know, it's constantly evolving, and obviously we don't want to be inventing the wheel on that. So can you tell me sort of, you know, from a broader perspective, what type of training information you get on that front?
So I'm probably the wrong person to ask. IT was involved in the drill, and IT basically handled the cybersecurity portion of it. As emergency management, it's our job to basically quarterback the whole thing, get all the teams in the room or the players in the room and coordinate the best response. IT had a very specific plan to deal with cybersecurity issues, detailed right down to insurance that we have to cover IT or cybersecurity issues, as well as contractors that would come in and basically help us repair our system in case of a cybersecurity issue. But if you want specifics on those plans, you're going to have to take that up with IT.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah, John Nowakowski he's up on that, and he's constantly reviewing and updating. So he was in that meeting. He really spoke for a good portion of that whole training session.
Yeah, he gave us about a 20-minute dissertation on every step that would take from the moment we were notified to the moment it was solved. So it was actually a very lengthy process. I was very impressed.
Okay, thank you.
Were the registrar of voters involved in this drill election related?
So the registrar of voters were, because you are dealing with election issues, it could be anything from a ballot issue to a registrant issue. We didn't know what the actual scenarios were going to be until they actually gave us the scenarios. So we wanted to make sure we had everybody in the room that might be involved in a situation. So it actually turned out that the registrars did actually give some input into how we could mediate an issue with a ballot box, or actually it was a registration mailed out ballots to one of the nursing facilities that basically got either intercepted or destroyed, on how we could actually handle that. So they were actually very useful in the drill.
Do they benchmark us to like other towns, or how we are doing on like
So
generally, not just cybersecurity?
we haven't seen the reports, the outcome reports from the drill yet, so we can't really say what the benchmarks are against any other towns. But I would say, based on our after-action reports, that we did very well.
Okay, that sounds good. Any other questions? Thank you so much for that report.
You're welcome.
Moving on to ambulance, and we have the new chief here, so welcome, Mary.
Thank you.
Yeah, looking forward to working with you on this
Thank you
committee.
so much. I appreciate the welcome. This is my first report, and it is my 15th day of being chief, so.
You should be well into it now.
Good. I had a headache. Okay. This is from June, so this is actually not involving my term, so
Sure.
I didn't start until July 1st. So I'm trying to backtrack a little bit and grab some info, and then I kind of combined what I've also been doing a little bit. So we had 124 calls in June, bringing the 2024 total up to 849. I was not able to confirm these numbers on the hot and the cold responses. They're all within the state averages and norms, which is less than 9 minutes for hot and less than 12 minutes for cold. I don't know if that's current. I'm double checking a lot of this. And next month will be better. Okay.
I'm sure.
Trust on that. The top 5 calls are very consistent in our town. Thank goodness we are consistent. I'm unaware of I'm unaware of of any cardiac arrest presumptions or opioid-related information at this time. I would have to defer to Mr. Kemp on that one. Sure. I will say that since July 1st, I've had 1 retirement, 1 LOA, 4 applicants pending, and I have 3 returning members that have come back. So I've had some real good movement as far as staffing. I have myself, my deputy chief of operations is Kim Ritchie. Mike Turcott is my deputy chief of finance, and Zach Marchand will be my assistant chief of administration. Training will be left open at this time because we're going to revamp our training division and come up with an entirely new way of doing training to allow for a more cohesive experience and fluid training. That is the ultimate plan. So I need to find someone that actually will be competent and capable of managing an entire effective division. So that's my plan on that. Our vehicles, we have the same three. They are all there. 371, the new 371 is not online yet because we still are in need of radios. I don't know why this was put in there as far as that goes. We are completing an inventory at this time because of an old administration, a new administration. There's a lot of counting going on. Trust.
Yes,
A
of
lot of
course.
counting. But counting, 1, 2, 3. So there was no training meeting in June. There was an election in June, so we only hold one meeting in June for the year. And our first training meeting in July, we had a party instead. So we had a great turnout. So I think actually for membership purposes, we had the biggest turnout for members at a training meeting in July. So I was pretty impressed with that. So we're going to go and let's keep that momentum going. We have, I kind of ran through quickly on the membership where we are. 51 total members so far. Our relationship with Aetna, I've always had a good relationship with Aetna for the last 14 to 15 years. So I'm going to keep that flow going. I don't know about everybody else. So we're going to go with that. We had, as far as our service stats in and of itself, we transported in June 17 transports with the paramedic. BLS transports were 59 transports. We had 40 refusals and then 8-ish public assists. There were some questions of what they were as far as were they alarm activations and unfounded, those kinds of things. That does happen. So, good. Obviously, we had our open house. It was very successful. And we have gotten so many things done so far. Focusing on our new administration has been a real great experience. The energy in the whole building has changed into such a positive. I had a member come up to me yesterday and say, I love being here finally, after him being a member for a year, which I thought was the biggest accomplishment that a new chief could possibly have when you have been on this journey so far of bean counting and sweating and trying to get things organized and figured out. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you for that report.
You're welcome.
Counselor.
Yeah, so questions. You
Sure.
talked about some major changes in training. Can you elaborate on that a little bit? There's some specific areas that you're bringing a new focus to?
The state of Connecticut has a set, between the state of Connecticut and National Registry, there's a focus structure that we can stay on and maintain to maintain what's called national certification and state certification. It's not required that we maintain national certification. I've maintained both national and state certification as an EMT. If you maintain your national certification, your state certification is automatic. If you stay on that course, it becomes, you actually, in my opinion, you have a better EMT. I decided. I think I'm a better EMT. I don't think, since the state of Connecticut also seems to think that's the course to stay on, I'm going to agree with them. If you follow the track and the trajectory to stay nationally certified, you end up just following a certain so many hours of airway training, so many hours of cardiac training, so many hours over the course of 2 years. You then can follow that path, and then people are appropriately trained throughout the course of their 2-year recertification, and they don't have to worry about missing classes or having to, you're not going to have someone that doesn't know how to do their job. And I want competent people out there doing their job and being competent providers. At the end of the day, I don't want them to not know how to take care of our people. So
So the main change then is kind of the structure of what you're, the structure that goes around your training, going from the state standards to the federal standards.
It's a national standard, not federal standard. It's a national standard. If you follow the national standard, the state standard falls in line. And then if you follow that same trajectory, you're going to have just a more competent, well-rounded EMT. You also have the option, I could focus on what's right and wrong within the agency all the time, but then that doesn't mean that somebody's going to know how to do what needs to be done as far as providing patient care. And at the end of the day, whether or not they mop the floor, that's a personnel issue. That shouldn't be a training issue. Cardiac care, respiratory care, understanding a sick child, that should be what we should be training about, not how to get chores done. That's my opinion. I'm sorry, it should be run like a school.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Vino?
Just welcome aboard.
Hi,
Thank you for
thank you.
everything you're doing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Apologize, everybody, I was a little tardy. Sorry.
No, no worries. Chief, thank you for that great report, and looks like you have a long runway to run with, in your new role. And we, all of us on this committee, wish you the best.
Thank you.
And when you are, starting in a new role, I think that's the time of greatest opportunity, in my view, to make constructive, changes and move in a direction where you can move to leave your imprint, your leadership imprint on things. I'm sure Chief Klett was once there in very, I think you're the one who were the closest probably from a leadership perspective to the chief here, right?
Still
2
have-
years. Well, has it been 2 years, Chief Klett?
Now it'll be a year, formally a year next week, not counting the
See,
active phase.
yeah. See, the time goes fast. So
I still have my seatbelt on, though.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
yeah, but the reason I brought you up, Chief, was I think Chief Klett has done a good job here, and he has tried to work with the committee and make some changes. It's not always smooth sailing, as I'm sure you will attest to, but that's what we are here for. Sometimes it's work, so sometimes it's not fun, but things need to get done, and we are here to get them done for the public. So I hope you will take it in that spirit as well. I brought in Chief Klett because that's the best example I got for you right now, because Chief Gary has been in his role for a long time. So I think things do work out in the end, and like I said, it's not always fun, but it's work. So we can't expect it to be fun all the time. But whatever you need from this committee, I can speak for the members here. I can speak for the town manager, other chiefs. You're moving in the right direction, and if you have the right intent, then we'll be behind you and support you 100%.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much, all of you.
Absolutely. So moving on to PD.
Good
Chief
evening.
Klett.
Before I get to the executive summary, just want to, I know it'll be shared by Aetna momentarily, but at the August meeting, we went through the manager's office, Aetna will be recognizing that topic we've kind of brought up about the hands-on CPR, the save percentages for the last 12 months. So at the August council meeting, we'll be taking a proclamation from Aetna to recognize that accomplishment of our dispatch center. And as well as we'll have 2 officers present that evening to be recognized for essentially saving the life of a victim of a car fire who was having a medical condition. The car ended up being engulfed in flames, and 2 of our officers were somewhat injured and actually received medical treatment following that, but the occupant of the car was successfully removed and brought back to life, essentially. So we'll be bringing those officers, if they're willing to come join us, to receive their life-saving award next month, which is very exciting for us, and a great job that they've done. The town, as you know, is working out the union contract. We're hopeful that that could be completed and resolved in the near future, but we're things looking very positively. And for the and we've been working, and I'll touch on probably more detail, but my focus has been filling the vacancies and voids that we have. And I'm proud to say that even since submitting this report, we have 2 additional conditional offers for certified officers who have begun their background investigations today. So very excited to tell you that we are filling those holes. We have another officer starting July 29th, August 1st, coming in from another department, and 2 others following behind that, which if that all works out and is all successful, that leaves us with 1 vacant position left, which includes the Hugo Misano, who joined the academy just this week. So we are making big rounds on filling those voids and filling the positions that we have vacant, which I'm very excited about. That's been a real priority for me in this first year, making sure that we're getting ourselves back to staffing and preparing for the future. We have, doing the executive summary, it's a pretty quiet month, to be honest with you. 1,987 calls for service, 17 criminal arrests, 2 DUIs. I mentioned the backgrounds. The the redactions have somewhat kind of subsided recently. It's been a little less than we've been used to, but I will wait to see if there's a change in that. 3 car seat installations, 7 community events, which are listed on the black page, and an update on the Kobe Road case and the smash and grabs. There are 5 currently under the smash and grab cases. The detective who you met meeting before, both of these cases are his. He has at this point submitted 5 search warrants for the break-ins, which he's collaborating with other departments as well. Those search warrants involve cellular records, bank records, et cetera, to which, when all that information is back, help him toward his warrant. But it's a pretty complex case because it involves multiple agencies. But the last update was still waiting for some results of search warrants to put that case together. And the Kobe Road case is in warrant processing, meaning that he's in process of putting that warrant together. As far as our special events for the year, for the month, on the back page, I'm proud I was present for the Juneteenth event. I was there for a bit. It was nice to see that come together and very well attended. I was proud to be there. We've had some involvement with the Berlin Town Cadet Program, trying to collaborate with them as well. And we attended the Jamal Mitchell services in New Haven as an officer killed from Minneapolis, killed line of duty, who came back through town and had services here locally. And Sergeant Foss-Wiggin has conducted a site assessment for the Congregational Church, giving them some advice about their internal security, advice about active shooters and things of that nature. But beyond that, as we mentioned, we participated in the drill, which I thought was challenging, but also quite eye-opening and very successful. And that's where I stand. I turn it over for questions.
Thank you, Chief. Counselor.
So Chief, the smash and grab incidents you're referring to, those weren't motor vehicle, those are the retail ones we talked about
Correct.
recently?
That's the Exxon, the Golden Opportunities, and I think in Cumberland Farms. It's the same group from what the information intelligence has been shared with us through multiple departments. It's a group of 3 or 4 people who have gone statewide around the state to different towns. So our detective is really working with these towns that have been affected by this crew, if you want to call them that, and putting it together, kind of working together, because what we're working on is similar to what the other towns are working on, so that information kind of needs to be worked together to put the whole picture together for the warrant for that probable cause determination.
So when you have a multi-jurisdictional situation like this, where you have a group that's suspected of working in multiple towns, even different counties, what's the process for, kind of broadcasting information out there and sort of pinging everyone else and saying, hey, have you had a similar situation? Is this something that we should be collaborating on?
There's several ways. 3 I can think of. I mean, the first being is that our regional detectives do tend to have localized meetings amongst themselves. And if we see a spike or a trend like this, those communities that are being affected and think they have similar trends or suspects, there's 2 primary communication networks, 3. But we have an internal system on the Slack app, essentially, we're communicating with the police department, sharing tips and info. There's also the Connecticut Information Center, which is run by the state police in the collaboration with the FBI, and we'll put our information into that. It comes out like a PDF it could be weekly, it could be monthly, but essentially we're disseminating that out to other police departments, and then they end up all talking to each other. It's really interesting if you're behind the scenes and you talk to these detectives. They know what's going on in other towns because they're reading these updates. sharing information at the meetings. And so when the light bulb goes off, like this sounds similar, they're making those connections and following up on them.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Councilor Whedon.
Thank you guys for your detective division, putting all that stuff together and continuously working on it. Sure to be positive success. Thanks for going to Officer Mitchell's funeral and wake and all that. That's a great show of support. Just with the motor vehicle activity, it's down quite a bit, and in turn, the accidents went up a little bit. I don't know if they're related or not, but
Looking at our accidents with injuries, we have a 0% increase. It was 31 last month and 31 this month. There is a slight increase of 2 additional accidents with injuries for the month. Those being Town Line Road, 1994 Silas, Main Street and Main and West. What I can tell you is that for this month, this is the month of June for our agency is the end of the fiscal year. And what's happening is with mentioning that we've had one officer out on long-term disability, another one who recently went out on workers' comp as well. But 1,658 hours of time off was used in the month of June. These are officers burning up their vacation time, their last personal days of the year. So the schedule gets very turbulent. Before my position as chief, I did the schedule for almost 10 years, and I can tell you it's the least popular time of year to work and do the schedule and work on the road. And what's happening is folks who've held on to those personal days or want to get those last-minute vacation days burnt out, used up, it's a very short month for us. And then you add in a couple shortages that we've already talked about, plus a couple of the injuries I just mentioned, it leaves the schedule kind of short. So I've eyeballed, I've noticed the activity as well. Not making excuses for that, but I think we have humans who are just probably reaching their burn point right now for this time of year. I've spoken to the patrol commander about it. He's aware of it as well, but sometimes we got to take a little breath, but it's not lost on me. I can see the line trending down just like you as well. I pulled some numbers ahead of time when I saw it the other day, and 84 traffic stops in June. The year before is 198. So certainly a change, something we're not missed, and I will promise you I'll make sure that message gets back to our command staff.
very good. Thank you very much on that. Just keep an eye on it, please. You mentioned a couple officers who were injured. Are they okay? Are they back?
One's been a long-term. This occurred back April of last year, and it's still working itself out. Another officer was injured in an ATV rollover, essentially, where his upper, I don't want to get into specifics about his injury, but essentially caused him to be out. Just got an update today, and that'll be another 30 days for a review period. So Kerma ensures that our officers are of good health, 100% restored to their abilities, and they do not take any chances. I think if you were to ask, and I don't know if you've ever been out before on the workers' comp, you're like, you can come back, you feel good, but the doctors and the insurance companies really make sure they have the best interest of both the town and the employee in mind. So sometimes those lengths of absence is a little longer than maybe we all feel it should be, but it's for the best interest of the employee. So the next update, I think, came in today. I think it's 30-day follow-up for the officer that we mentioned on the rollover.
Perfect. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Chief, so the 5 search warrants, I just clarification, are they for that, for the thefts with the smash and grab stuff? Is that the 5 search warrants we're
Correct.
talking about? Yep.
Yes, that case alone was 5 individual search warrants. I've been theorizing. I can tell you that a lot of it involves cell phones and triangulation and cell records. You may be looking at bank records to see if there was any deposits, et cetera. My understanding is most of it is focusing on geographical data from cell phone. And that's not an easy thing to get, number one. It takes some time with the cell phone companies, but also to interpret that, break it down so that we could use it toward that probable cause finding. It's a lengthy process. I mean, just getting the data back sometimes can be months.
Yeah, and the Kobe Road incident, right? Like, I think you said you're working on that's in the warrant phase, right? I don't want you to go into like a lot of specifics, but will there be any learnings, like broader learnings from that incident? Because that was I was treating it as a one-off at this point, that stray bullet incident, right? The Kobe Road one. And I don't know, if, I don't want you to talk about the process right now because I'm sure individuals are involved there, but if there is any learnings there in terms of what happened there, if we can get that, like, after investigation report, like if we can talk about in more general terms.
Yeah, it's a lot-
Because it has been a concern for a lot of people, right? It's a stray bullet incident and people get nervous for good reason. And I don't want to kind of rehash and do a postmortem on your process procedures. But if there are any learnings for us as a town, like.
Sure. I know at previous, it was on the agenda at 2 public safety meetings ago about discussion about ordinance. I'm not sure of the status of that with the council, this committee, and the manager, but I'm certainly willing to give some input into that discussion if it continues. But last I knew it had been removed from the 2 public safeties ago, it was taken off the agenda for discussion. So I'm happy to have that conversation in that venue. But it's a lot easier for us to talk about cases that have been closed with arrest than they are with
Of course,
active.
and that's why, so part of the reason that I took it off the agenda was because I want you to finish your investigation.
Makes sense.
And that's why I'm bringing that up again, because we are going to wait on that until that will be the right thing to do in terms of like having all the information. So I'm treating that as like more of like a kind of like a follow-up if we need it.
Okay.
But that would definitely be informed by what you're telling us.
Sure, I'm absolutely happy to offer any feedback on that topic down the line. We'll just give me a little time. I know Detective Lehane is working.
No, and that's
And, I know it might feel the pace is slow, but I can tell you these cases are, the courts today are really looking for complete cases from top to bottom. When I started, you could submit an arrest warrant with a 51% probable cause, and the court would kind of handle it. Today, what they're looking for is a complete package from top to bottom in their case handed over to them, so that really mitigates the time spent at court, which means we're spending more time developing that information and getting those warrants to a T to submit.
Yeah, and that's the right way to do it, like, whatever is required. And we don't want to be ahead of ourselves, too. So that's why
Yeah,
I want to defer to you. And that's fine, whatever time it takes.
Yeah, no, by no means was critiquing the removal of it. I know the conversation was there,
Right.
and happy to continue that when time is right, for sure.
Absolutely. All right, so actually, Dave, again, Dave Camp is here from Aetna, and I realized, because you're not here, maybe, Dave, you could start sitting here. I don't know if there is a protocol against that, but I keep missing you because you're out there.
It's not a me decision.
Yeah.
So.
We are looking at the captain of the ship there.
Oh, well, first of all, congratulations, Chief. It's been a pleasure just in the first 2 weeks of working with you. My only advice is, as I think Prakash kind of got into it, is you're going to come into something and just know where you're getting overwhelmed or frustrated, but you have a team behind you, and we're certainly always going to be there to support you and help you, and that's what we're all about. Public safety, we're all together to kind of make sure we're all successful. So just keep that in mind. Don't it's like drinking out of a fire hose, to use that analogy. It's going to be a lot coming at you, but you'll be able to get there, and we'll make sure that you're successful. So just be patient, you'll get there. So the executive summary report for Aetna, June we did see a dip in call volume, which is kind of nice because it's been really hot out. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, so it's nice for the crews to maybe get a little bit of a slowdown. We did 268 responses with a total of 180 transports, brings us year to date up to 1,687 transports with 1,155 transports. Our on-time performance last month was 96% with an average response time of 6 minutes and 28 seconds. We did see 8 cardiac arrests that resulted in 2 transports. I actually believe I have to go and check. I think both of the transports of the hospital are hopefully, knock on wood, going to be saved and be able to be discharged, which is exciting. Hopefully I'll have more next month to share of that when we're recognizing the dispatchers and the officers. Opiate-related incidents, we did have 2 really for the year. It's really down compared to previous years as a whole. June and July have typically or May, June, and July have been kind of where we've typically and historically, I think, seen the spikes. And when I say spike, I mean kind of a relative spike, again, 4 to 5 maybe, but it's been staying at 2, which brings us to year-to-date opiate encounters of 10. We did have 11 new team members that completed their field training process, including 2 EMTs and 2 paramedics that we were excited to have join our team. And on top of that, now we're bringing in another 9 that are starting next week, all EMTs that will be going through their new hire orientation and field training process. With that, and one other exciting thing is we do have 4 new prospective paramedic preceptors. So those are the folks that go and actually train the paramedics to spend about 2 to 3 months with the new paramedics to get them up to speed. So they're currently going through the testing process, and we're excited to see where that ends up. But with that, that's the executive report, and I stand ready for questions.
Any questions, Counselor?
No questions, thanks. Dave.
Counselor Bean?
Just got a quick question about the opiate
Sure.
incidents. Are most of these deaths, or are they recovered?
No, I don't want to put a number on it because I don't know,
Oh.
like, really off the top of my head. But I would say, the vast majority of these are not fatal.
Good.
I would say probably, 50 to 60% of the time they are getting some sort of intervention, whether through Narcan / naloxone or through BVM. But we're not seeing those being fatal. I think as a whole, as a state, we've done a nice job of making sure we're getting that opiate agonist out there to folks and getting earlier access. We're not, again, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx anything, but we're not seeing as many bad outcomes as maybe we did 4, 5, 6 years ago. So
Thank you.
you're welcome.
I don't,
I
yeah,
just-
sorry, please.
Look, no. The 8 cardiac arrests, is that like high for a month?
Yeah, that was high for a month. I went and I looked at them. I don't see any real connection to them yet. Because I think we think right now with the heat. Is this a heat related thing? Is this a viral related thing? Or whatever. Is this a trauma thing? And there's really no real correlation to it. It's something that I think we should definitely. And I always do, and we look at this together as we monitor kind of that to see if there's something else going on. But I don't see any, at this point, acute reason for the spike other than it just, kind of coincidence in timing. So
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only way to find out is like you wait like next month and the month after, or like, I don't know. But yeah, it looks like a spike. I think that's a good call out, but it could be just a aberration.
yeah, and then we do, and I think Charles Brown can probably speak to it better. I mean, there are some surveillance things that go on behind the scenes as far as, if somebody gets, if they go to the medical examiner, they'll go ahead and they'll be looking at different types and different causes of these things. Now, not always does somebody go to a medical examiner. It depends on the circumstances surrounding the event. Certainly if they're transported to the hospital, there's some additional surveillance that happens with that just because they're doing diagnostic testing. But again, I think it's something we'll certainly keep an eye on. I don't know the month-to-date numbers, but it has lulled out at least a little bit, again, knock on wood. But I think it was just a couple weeks that were just unfortunate.
Yeah. So, thank you.
You're
Thanks.
welcome.
Thanks for the report.
And that's
Dave.
why we'll
Ken.
continue. I know we're going to do a collaborative kind of some CPR training with everybody around to get some bystander CPR because that is so important and it's all part of that chain of survival. So everybody does make a difference. So
Yeah, no, I'm definitely looking forward to you guys working together in a really productive manner and having that like a single team kind of feel to it. I know we have been working on it for a little bit, but I think with Chief McGovern here, like, trying to, restart.
it's a new phase, right?
Yeah, it's a new phase. It's always a restart with a new leadership there, right? So anywhere for that matter. So, but thank you.
All right.
Thanks
You're
for
very welcome.
Yeah. Talking about Charlie Brown, he's on TV in front of me. No, it's just a monitor. But Charlie Brown, like you might be doing the TV shows now with all the heat, like, people asking you to come over and talk about what's going on. So Charlie, moving on to you. That was just an intro to get you talking.
Charlie, you're muted.
Definitely on, and we've actually been producing our epidemiologist heat-related injury report that's been going on every week. This week we're seeing, tomorrow is a potential extreme heat day with the following day dropping down to high, but definitely something to pass on to everyone to stay hydrated, stay cool, take advantage of those places where the air conditioning, if you don't have air conditioning, and seek out those cooling centers that are available to, like the library and places of that nature. Other things that are heating up right now, we're also seeing our first positive West Nile virus mosquito within the health district. Just came out this afternoon, a report from the Connecticut Department of Public Health that we had positive mosquitoes for West Nile virus at the Goff Road Weathersfield testing station. And if they're in that area, they're pretty close to Rocky Hill. So just to, make sure that everybody's taking proper precautions. I know we're all taking advantage of the summer weather to be out more often, and especially in the times where it's a little cooler in the evenings. But also take the precautions to keep from getting bit and potentially, contracting West Nile virus or Triple E or another one of those vector-borne diseases. Last thing that's heating up, and we're actually catching this via wastewater surveillance, is COVID. So we're seeing a rise in the concentrations of COVID virus in wastewater. We're seeing cases nationwide of the new variant that's actually increasing overall. Fortunately, we're not seeing additional deaths, but hospitalizations and test results that come from the hospitals are up. So it's definitely something we've heard anecdotally of quite a few cases testing positive. So something to be conscious of. Assure that if you're sick, that you're following appropriate CDC guidance and staying home until you don't have a fever for 24 hours before returning back, and then wearing a mask where appropriate. Those are the things that we can do to protect ourselves, our family, and our community. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Counselor.
Just a second. Yeah, Charlie, thanks. As we get into the summer, as fall approaches, can we anticipate it's going to be an annual thing with COVID now that we'll be seeing a kind of a strain-specific booster shot like we do for flu every year? It's going to be kind of a similar drill?
Yeah, I'm assuming that that's what's going to be happening. That's what we're hearing at the national level. They haven't made an adjustment in the booster up to this point, so we're making assuming that it's going to be changing coming up here in the fall. The problem with COVID and any coronavirus is that they do adapt quite a bit faster than what influenza, for example, does. So we do run into some of these things where the variant may kind of get to the point to where it can evade the vaccine, which is what we're seeing a little bit with the variant that's currently out there. So I think overall they want to try to match it up as best they can coming into the fall, where people are in much more closer proximity during wintertime, and matching it up with the seasonal vaccines like flu just makes sense logistically.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Whelan.
Just follow up, you said something about COVID in the wastewater? Could you elaborate on that?
Yes, so one of the ways that we're actually conducting surveillance now nationally and even in the Northeast region is by testing the wastewater for COVID specifically. So we can see concentrations of the virus in wastewater, and when we start to see that rise, it's an indicator that there's more illness and more virus concentration within the community. It's a passive way to get that surveillance and to allow us to be able to get the word out that there's more virus within a particular community or region.
Thank you. And then about the West Nile virus. So, people are getting bit by mosquitoes often. What are the signs? Are they different to contract that disease?
So West Nile virus typically is fever, chills. It's similar to influenza. So at times, especially in the summertime, when you have those types of symptoms, body aches, it's good to go to your doctor to get diagnosed specifically. So best thing that you can do at this point is to take the proper precautions. So wearing long sleeve clothing, limiting your time out during the times of dawn and dusk, which is where Culex pipiens, which is the type of mosquito that passes West Nile virus typically, is out and feeding, and then wearing an appropriate insect repellent using DEET.
Perfect. Thank you, sir.
Charlie, quickly, is that did you say one positive case of West Nile? I'm clarifying. if I heard it correctly.
No, not a positive case of West Nile virus, but a positive mosquito. So
Positive
they
mos-
test for mosquitoes at a couple of stations in the district, one in Newington, one in Weathersfield. And when we get a positive mosquito, we report out because it's going to, once again, the virus is circulating within the community, and it's possible, it's prudent to take those preventive actions. We have not, to this point, had a positive human case, I believe, in the state. So it's only been mosquitoes that have been testing positive. Typically, we see the mosquitoes and what they trap as far as the agricultural station start about this time of year to test positive within, as they're testing. Human cases will generally follow that. That's why we try to ring the bell, get people to pay attention, and do the right thing.
Great, and this last one is a curiosity question because Dave Kemp mentioned cardiac arrest, and I wanted to ask you, is there a relationship, any correlation between extreme heat and cardiac issues?
Oh, absolutely.
That you know of?
So, yeah, absolutely. So extreme heat does put, a body through a lot of stress, and people that have had cardiac issues potentially, do succumb to, cardiac issues during heat-related events. That's one of the reasons why, especially during extreme heat, to assure that people are well hydrated, that they have an opportunity to take advantage of, cooling centers and things of that nature. We ask that people, check on your elderly neighbors, to assure that they're okay, that they're not being affected by this, because people with medical conditions that, include cardiovascular issues, really do struggle in this type of extreme weather. This is something that, watching trends over time, that I'm going to have our epidemiologists kind of take a look at. Climate change and health are definitely affected. The amount and number of hot days that we're dealing with, it seems to be increasing overall, and that does have an impact on our health and how we should, help to prevent those things through our actions.
Thank you, Charlie. So we don't have any old business, new business, other business, but we do have the approval of minutes, which we had moved down after the departmental updates. So do I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 17th, 2024?
So moved.
Second.
I'll second it.
Oh, I got the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, actually, I need to abstain because I was not here on June 17th, and that was the whole reason we moved it down, to have you here,
Yep.
Councilor Whelan. So moved and so passed. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?